Hello everyone, welcome to the Ranting Shop. Today we're going to be reviewing Ready to Love for Worth Season 9, Episode 3, where all of the couples are going to be combined. We're going to see some new dynamics. We're going to experience some new love interests and stuff like that. Okay, so let's get into things. So firstly, they all go into this room, and then first it's the people from the second bunch, and then later on the people from the first bunch come in and they all mingle and things like that. I'm just gonna talk about the most prominent things that I saw that occurred during this episode. For one, we're gonna talk about Jonathan. Jonathan had a date, or I should say a sit down with Mika and April, and he spoke on his ex-wife, and he said something that was a little bit problematic and concerning to the women, which is that he gets the impression that his ex-wife may very well want him back, and he has admitted to spinning the block many times, and there's potential for it to happen again, so rightfully so the women are worried. And so what happened was Mika already dismissed him. She's like, that's gonna be some baby mama drama, and the potential is very much there for that to happen. And the situation with April, that just made her even more curious, but it was making Jonathan frustrated because he felt like you should be asking about me, not my past relationships. But at the end of the day, dating is for gathering information, and if that information is important for the women to know, then you shouldn't be upset that they're asking you this. It's a very big thing to have an ex-wife that's very much still interested in you, and having a child and dealing with a new partner. That's a lot that she has to take on, and I feel like it makes sense for her to ask you this, and for you to be upset about it. It's actually very concerning, and it's giving red flags. Okay, it's giving that there's a potential for you to cheat on your current relationship with your ex-wife, and nobody wants that. Okay, so I don't know why he was getting upset. So later on, Jonathan and April talk, and basically she wanted to clarify the whole situation with the ex-wife, because April has been in her prior relationship, I should say, came with a lot of, I'm gonna assume, infidelity, which made her very insecure. And instead of leaving, she stayed because she wanted love so bad, and took out her anger on the partner. I don't think it made him stop cheating, but I guess that was her way of coping. And she doesn't want it to be repeated again, which is why she's so worried about Jonathan and the ex-wife. So she's asking, and I don't think it's, again, wrong for her to ask, because to me that is an important question that I think any woman should ask, because that is like a potential heartache type of scenario that you could prevent. But he keeps getting annoyed. Either way, he figured, because April keeps asking, he's not interested in April, and it is what it is. Now, what I've noticed this episode about Jonathan is he's very dismissive. He doesn't want people to ask him too much about his personal business, but he wants to know about your business. So it's like, how are we getting to know each other if I'm not able to be privy to the dynamics of your ex-wife, and the dynamic of you and your child, and the dynamic of you and your business, or whatever you have going on? It just doesn't make sense to me. And then we have a group date, Alexis Koshia. Both of them admitted that they were very competitive. Now, when you put two competitive women together, it's either they bond based on their competitive nature, or they absolutely despise each other because both of them are competitive. From last episode, seeing the way Koshia moved, from the first episode, seeing the way Koshia was just ready to put her hands on Alexis, even though she said it in a joking way, I already clocked that she's very competitive, especially among the other women, and I feel like she feels like maybe Alexis is her biggest competition, which is why she has so much energy for Alexis. But I was looking at Alexis's page on Instagram, and Alexis was playing that particular scene where Koshia is saying, "I'll drag her by her curls," and Alexis was like, "Whose curls? Who's she going to do that to?" And all Alexis's friends in the comment section was like, "She don't know you clearly. She don't know who you are clearly. It looks like Alexis might be skinny, but she's no punk, okay? So Koshia better watch out when it comes to Alexis, child." So Koshia and Jonathan, well, before they go out on their individual dates, they play a game of bowling. The women end up winning. They do their chicken dance, whatever. They move on to talking 2 by 2. So Koshia and Jonathan go first, and they're talking about quality time, and she said that's her love language, and she was struggling to give him an answer as to why quality time is your love language. And in my mind, it's like, if you're so sure that quality time is your love language, why is it so difficult for you to simply explain why it's your love language? It's so weird to me. It just seems like it shouldn't be something that you have to think too much on. It's just something you know to be what makes you think that you're being loved. Like, anyways. So I feel like during their conversation, Jonathan became disinterested in Koshia. I don't think Koshia was interested in him either, and he picked up on that, and he was like, it's not gonna work. And then they switch, and now we have Alexis and Jonathan. They hit it off really well. She's looking for genuine love. She mentions having beautiful feet, and she mentions the whole thing of do you like feet? Do you like sucking feet? And he's like, this conversation again. Yeah, I suck feet. And they seem to be getting along. I said, for once, Jonathan actually likes somebody. So I think there's 2 women there that he likes. I think he likes either Leilin and Alexis, or Leilin, Maya, and Alexis. These 3 women, I'm not particularly sure. But he's very picky. He's giving me red flag this particular episode, because he's too defensive. Like, come on. So we have Alonso. Now we all know Alonso hit it off with Patrice in the 2nd episode. He's also interested in Alexis, and that's why he brought Alexis and Kushi on the double date. And what happens was, him and Koshia actually got some time to talk to each other, and he asked Koshia some question about, what did he ask? He asked a question about about communication, and she was saying that communication was basically more so about understanding as opposed to anything else. Because if I may talk all the time and explain things to you, but if you're not understanding me, then, and then he was saying it's more about your something versus intention. And they all get into something about, what if there's a pregnancy scare now? And she's like, huh? That would, first of all, that's not gonna happen. So anyways, that gets a little uncomfortable. They talk about her being a baby and being catered to and spoiled. And I think he was very much over her at that moment. But that whole pregnancy thing, it really upset and offended her. Because he's like, oh, I like to throw curveballs. And I was like, yeah, that was a failed one. Because she just wasn't feeling it. After I think when they did the elimination ceremony. Okay, so during the elimination date, because actually Koshia ended up being on the bottom, she reveals that there's other things that offended her about the little date with Alonso. Not only the situation with the pregnancy, but also he asked her whether she'd like to be choked or spanked. And she didn't think it was cute. She didn't think it was funny. In fact, she took offense to it, and she told him that I don't appreciate you asking me these kinds of questions. I'm not gonna answer this. This question, I suppose, is too personal for me to answer to like a stranger, someone I barely know. Now, Alonzo is claiming that it wasn't sexual and she should not have assumed it was. Like, sir, are you taking a piss? Because what else does choking and spanking allude to? Unless you're talking about abuse, unless you're talking about someone that is willing to be abused, which is such a weird question. Like, would you go up to a stranger and ask them, are you willing to be choked and spanked? Like, how do you think that's gonna be taken? It's either gonna be a sexual thing or it's gonna be an abuse thing. Like, there's no in between, unless you like kinky stuff and you like to be choked, and even that is associated with sexual things. So I'm not assuming what Alonzo was trying to do there, maybe gaslight us, but we're not stupid, Alonzo. Don't be daft, okay? So I said, come on, cut the bull, because you're not about to gaslight anybody, especially not Koshia. So during that date, elimination date and stuff, Alonzo tells her, okay, the guys decided to keep you. So after that situation happened, because actually, Koshia was like, okay, after this, please don't bring this conversation up again. It's not something I want to indulge in. He agrees. And then he goes back to the same conversation, trying to defend himself and say it wasn't sexual and she shouldn't assume it was. So she just gets up and leaves, which is what I would do, because, like, who you trying to piss about? Like, who you trying to take for an idiot? Boy, if you don't go. So she was not about having any of that foolishness. So let me go to the group date. There was a group date with William, Vanessa, Lamar, and Patrice. They were doing this art painting thing. Vanessa and William speak on their kids. We learned that Vanessa has 2 children. We already know William has 3. Lamar and Patrice are talking, and she's talking about loving to spend that quality time with him and so on and so forth. And he's like, that's not my quality time. My quality time is touching you. Like, why does everything for Lamar have to be sexual? On the first, or should I say second episode, it was all about, oh, if we do a nude beach, everything has to have sexual innuendos or be sexual. Why? It just proves to me that Lamar just came here looking for some type of sex freak for him to be with. It doesn't seem like he wants anything genuine, anything long term, anything serious. He just came on because the people scouted him off Instagram and told him, or probably begged him to come on, and so he did it. That's the air he's giving. Like, I'm just here. He's giving off creepy uncle. He's giving off the uncle that asks for hugs and tells you all type of dumb BS that makes you uncomfortable. Anyways, so Patrice is trying to play it off nicely, like, how does it go from God to that? It just doesn't make sense, because she's telling him she wants somebody that seeks a higher purpose or higher meaning, and he's kind of brushing it away, like, I do that, so that he can get back to the sexual questions. So as far as Lamar, I don't see what his purpose is on the show. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't think anybody was really that interested in Lamar except for Rashina or Rashnia, and at some point that's gonna come to a head. So to next episode, I think the men are gonna be the ones getting eliminated, and I hope Lamar is the first one to go, because I can't take him on. I cannot take him on. He's so creepy to me and yuck. So we have William. Yeah, I said that he surprisingly had a favorable edit this episode and seemed more appealing. He seemed calm. He spoke on his adoption and his interest in Maya and wanting to find his rib. Apparently, he's found, how many times has he been married? 3 times or twice? He's been married twice. So you've actually found 2 ribs. You just, either the rib didn't want you, or you didn't want the rib, or something. didn't work out nicely there. So Laylin and Patrice, I said, who surprisingly, at least verbally, was also interested in him, because to me William is not that cute. So I was kind of shocked that the women were saying, "Oh, I'm happy you looked at me too." Like, what? Like, okay. Laron and Patrice went on a date and he was more interested in the fish. He essentially was saying he wants a woman to make him uninterested or disinterested in his current lifestyle, which is he's always outside from Monday to Sunday, I think is what he said. And it sounds like you want to be settled down but still be outside. It's very confusing because you can't have both. And I don't think it's fair for Laron to want a woman to convince him to stop living that lifestyle. He seems like he wants somebody to make him not party that hard. Like, who wants that amount of pressure? Who wants to do all that? You either find a party animal like yourself, or you stop the party life and get the person that you say you want a serious connection with. Because to me it's coming across like he wants somebody to party with, as opposed to he wants to settle down and leave the partying behind. It doesn't seem that he wants to do that. Mad is very unappealing. So I was speaking about April being at the bottom. The men thought she came across too strong, and Lamar didn't care about her accomplishments. Lamar didn't want to speak on the fact that, well, she asked a question about how long have you been in your previous relationships, and for some reason he didn't want to answer it. I love the fact that April was meeting his energy and firing back. It gave me life, I can't lie. I do like Lamar. And I think that it's really weird that while Vanessa was talking to, I believe it was William, he came and stole her away to tell her to scream. Like, what foolishness is this? Like, that's like literally the most lazy approach when it comes to getting somebody out of their shell. That's not what you do. If you want her to get out of her shell, you create an environment that is comfortable and that is safe for her to come out of her shell. You don't meet her and tell her and give her the advice of screaming. I get his point, but that's not how you approach that situation. Because she was asking, okay, the men put me at the bottom. What is it that I need to improve on? Okay, she needs to be more open, more less guarded, and so on. But you've not created an environment for her to let her guard down. Telling somebody scream does not create an environment that lets their guard down. That's so weird. And then he comes to the conclusion that, oh, Vanessa is not for him. I don't think Vanessa ever wanted him, but okay, that's fine. Now, Patrice is liked by most men except for Laron. I think that out of all the women from this episode, Patrice is the one maneuvering the dating process the best. Like, she's meeting the men where they are. Like, she's able to connect with William on having a truck because she owns a trucking business. She can connect with Lamar even when he does the sexual advances. It's like she knows how to handle it to the point that it doesn't offend the men or make them feel like she's being too, I should say, prude. She connected with who else did she connect with? She connected with most of the men. She made them feel heard. She made them feel like there was this connection. So she's really good. Okay, we have Chaz connected with Lane. They seem to want the same things. And I said, I wonder how the traumatic situation with Chaz and the fact that his child died at such a young age, how would that affect his connection? Now, looking at Lane, I'm not sure if she wants kids, but if she does, that's definitely a conversation that they should have earlier than later. So, Koshia, I mentioned before, she was in the bottom. The men didn't want to fight her so early on. We saw her with Alonso on the elimination date, and I already spoke on that. I just find it weird that people bring up sex, the very first time they meet somebody? I think it's such a weird question to ask. As I said, you ease your way into these types of conversations. Like with the level of comfortability going down every date, naturally that conversation would come into play. But don't do it when they don't know each other, they're uncomfortable, their guard is up. Like I'm so confused. So people were saying, why was Koshia so offended by Alonso bringing up the sexual questions when prior to that she was telling Lauren, oh, if I was you, I would be face down, ass up. This just speaks to people liking to misinterpret and misconstrue things to fit their narrative, and I hate that. So the conversation that Koshia had with Laron, she's basically telling Laron, I defended you to the women because they all thought you were unserious, right? And I think he is unserious. And I was telling them, well, if I was single, I would also be face down, ass up. Which, in my wild assumption, that meant in terms of partying, dancing. To me, that didn't mean having sex. So these two things were very different types of conversations. She's defending Laron and coming to his, like, basically relating to him in his singledom. That's what she was doing. And people were like, oh, how can she be so offended with Laron? But then with another guy, she's talking about she wants to be face down, ass up. First of all, as I said prior, they were talking about different things. I know when Caribbean people dance, whether Caribbean people when Caribbean people dance, face down and ass up, that has nothing to do with sex. It looks sexual, but it has nothing to do with sex. When we're done dancing, it may seem as sexual as it can seem, but everybody goes home and sleeps. Nobody's taking anybody home. Nobody's doing any of that. It's dancing. That's it. Okay? And somebody asking you choking or what he said, choking or slapping or whatever question he asked, that's a different thing. That's clearly sexual. That's a completely different thing. Furthermore, that is Koshia's second time going on a date with Laron, and she clearly likes him. So obviously she'd feel comfortable to speak like that with him. This is the first time she's meeting Alonso. Why are we talking about this? And this is the first time I've ever seen you in my life. You know? But anyways, that's just me. Now, Dominique and Mika still is very much interested in Dominique. She spoke with Lamar very briefly. And it's so funny how Lamar and Mika canceled each other out. Essentially, it's like, Lamar is like, do you have kids? She's like, yes. Do you want kids? Lamar is like, yes, I do. Asking Mika, do you want kids? Mika is like, no. And so I think it was really funny how Lamar is like, okay, well, there's nothing else for us to talk about. And he leaves. At least as bullish and as yucky as Lamar is, at least he doesn't waste people's time. You know, I'll give him that. He knew him and Mika would not make sense, and so he just left. Okay? Rashina and Alonso, they did a date. They went to the feet rubbing thing, and you know, these are certain things you could do with some women and you can't do with other women. That's why you learn the women first, and then you try these types of games to see whether they catch it or not. You don't just do it and then just, come on. So I think Vanessa and Chaz might also be a really good connection. So we'll be watching this closely. That's it. That's my analysis of today's episode. I want to know if I missed anything. Yeah, that's it overall. Let me know what you guys think about this particular episode in the comment section. Like, subscribe, and see you guys next time. Bye.